Hello everyone, this is part 14 of What If Naruto and Hinata Had a Kid, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The sun was hot and humid today. Hinata could smell rain coming from the west. The clouds were still bright, and there was still wind, but she wasn't a ninja for nothing. She estimated it would be here by dusk. She would have to drag Yumi in by her clothes. She loved to play in the rain, meaning she would mess up another outfit beyond repair. Today Hinata dressed her in a blue outfit she knew was her daughter's favorite, with her long hair in 2 braids down the sides of her face. Yumi did not like dresses or anything associated with girl clothing. She was a tomboy, a cute and adorable tomboy, but a tomboy. Instead of having her toddler throw a fit at having to wear a dress, Hinata bended and dressed her daughter in what she called play clothes, for outings, and special dress clothes for those rare but special occasions. Like Daddy's birthday, or Aunt Hanabi's induction ceremony. Mommy, Yumi cried, tugging at Hinata's pants to get her attention. Monkeys. Hinata went over to where her daughter was attempting to drag her to. They stood next to a blonde little boy a year older than her. The little boy had startling blue eyes, the same as his cousin. In equal wonder, the two children watched and laughed at the animals swinging from branch to branch in their cages. Ino offered to get everyone a treat because the day was so hot, leaving her cousin in Hinata's care. Hinata didn't mind. The two toddlers were plenty entertained with the monkeys in their exhibit to cause any more problems, such as tantrums or even start a fight, which was normally how things went when Kenji and Yumi were together. Hinata knew her daughter liked Kenji, but for some reason the two constantly picked on each other. It was cute and endearing to see, but other times it was just frustrating. A little while later, as the two children were laughing in hysterics at the animals jumping from tree to tree and howling, Ino came back with Chuji in tow. Hinata waved and smiled up at him. She must have left because she knew Chuji was on his way. They often did things together, and Hinata had to bite her tongue on asking Ino why that was. Hello Chuji, Hinata said sweetly at the large bear of a man heading toward her holding a red and a green snow cone. She couldn't disapprove. Today was supposed to be a fun day after all. And who could ever say no to such a nice man giving her children treats? Unlike the rest, she knew Chuji did it just because he liked the treats as much as she did and was not fighting for a spot as Yumi's favorite by spoiling her completely rotten. Hello Hinata-chan, where is your little one? Chuji looked around and Hinata pointed to the monkey cage. I can sound like a monkey. Kenji yelled and made the noise. Yumi was quick to prove she was not to be outdone. Ah, Chuji said and made his waiter over. Ino handed Hinata a soda, and they watched as the children almost toppled the large man when he gave them snow cones. Hinata inwardly groaned that this was only going to make her daughter a sticky mess in about 2 minutes flat, but she kept her mouth shut, turning to her friend. Is Shikamaru back in the sand? She asked, making conversation. You didn't hear. Ino looked at her friend with wide, excited eyes. Hear what? Hinata asked. Having a child did not let you stay in the same gossip groups as single women. Town gossip was something she was no longer acquainted with. He asked Temari to marry him. No. Oh yes he did. Ino said, smiling wide. Supposedly he actually asked Gaara's and Kankaru's permission for it. He didn't spare the details, but now they're working on some kind of arrangement where they can be in Konoha and sauna with equal time. I wonder how she got him to finally do it. Hinata mused, keeping an eye on the children but knowing they were completely safe with Uncle Chuji by their side. I think she threatened him. Ino said, and they both laughed because that was very possible. Yumi and Kenji ran over to the women, snow cones melting and already getting down the front of their shirts. Mommy, I sticky. Yumi yelled, letting her snow cone DS around her hands. I see, Hinata answered, already having wet napkins in hand. She handed one to the blonde woman next to her since her cousin was equally messy. What flavor is it? Cherry, she said and greedily sunk her teeth into the sticky sweet goodness. Did you say thank you? Hinata asked, whipping the sticky substance off her daughter. Yes, Yumi said, smiling. Good. I got lime. Kenji said, showing his cousin his large green lump of ice. Ino smiled at him and patted his head once he was clean. Both women knew it was a futile attempt since both children would be dirty again rather soon, but it never hurt to try. While Chuji engaged in a conversation, Kenji looked over at Yumi, who was happily talking to her mother how much she liked Cherry. Hinata saw the boy walk over and for a moment thought he was going to offer to share. Mine better than yours, Kenji said, almost shoving Yumi's snow cone out of her hands. The small girl moved just in time in what Hinata was sure was some sort of genetic ninja stealth from her parents before letting out a howl of a scream, gathering everyone's attention. Chuji and Ino looked shocked, having never been witness to Yumi's wrath. Everyone else either tried to politely ignore it or shamelessly looked on. Hinata, however, was no stranger to her daughter's feisty side, as her husband put it, and simply waited for the outburst of screams. But what she got was something she did not expect in the least. Hinata watched helplessly as her daughter lunged at the boy and threw his snow cone out of his hands and across the floor. Not even a second to spare, the young boy began to cry and went to his aunt. Hinata glared at her daughter. Yumi, he started. Yumi protested, turning her back and going down the chomp on her flavored ice as if justice had been found. Hinata made a grab for it before her daughter got a taste. Yumi looked absolutely horrified. How could her mother do that to her? If Kenji doesn't get one, you don't get one. But. No, Yumi. But. Still holding out of the small girl's reach, Hinata met eyes with her daughter. She didn't move to throw it away just yet. She waited for Yumi to figure out some way to salvage this. She seemed to get the hint and walked over to the crying blonde boy who Ino was failing at calming down. She tapped his shoulder. His sobs got quieter when she got his attention. Sorry, Kenji. We share mine. Yumi smiled at the little boy, who was not completely quiet and eyeing her almost suspiciously, as if trying to see if this was some mean joke or she was being sincere. It Cherry, Yumi said, pointing to the now melting snow cone in her mother's hands. Kenji sniffed, letting go of his cousin. I like Cherry. Kenji sniffed again, following the little girl. When Yumi reached up to her mother's hands, Hinata gave her daughter the cold treat and smiled at her. That's my girl, she said with a stroke of her hair. The two children shared their one snow cone as if nothing had never happened. Ino and Chuji went back to their conversation and Hinata watched the monkeys in the cage along with the rest of the zoo patrons. In retrospect, perhaps it would have been a better idea to sit Naruto down and explain to him what her father was most likely going to talk about with them. Perhaps it would have been a good idea to pull Naruto aside before they got to her old house and inform him of that conversation she had with Neji months ago. But seeing as they were now here at the house, the moment had passed them and Hinata was left wondering if her new husband was going to leave this house alive. Naruto sat very close to her but did not touch her. He was probably afraid some family members were spying on him through the walls, and was too afraid to even look at her. As bizarre as that was, Hinata couldn't help but think it wasn't that far from the truth. She wouldn't be surprised if they had them currently surrounded while suppressing their chakra. With this thought, she glanced over at her husband. He looked deep in thought, afraid, upset, confused. She reached over, putting a hand lightly on his knee. He tensed but she didn't move it. Naruto, she said, getting his attention. They looked at each other for a long moment. Her grip on his leg tightened. What were they going to say? What were they going to do? Would they really take their child? His child. He wouldn't let them, he'd fight them, and she knew he would kill them if they gave him that chance. Naruto about, the door opened interrupting her and they both jumped. Naruto slightly tensed a bit more, Hinata relaxed, it was only Neji. Neji, is it about? Her voice trailed off when he nodded solemnly. She felt Naruto look between them, her hand was still on his leg. About what? Naruto asked, but both Hyugas ignored him. Have you thought about what you're going to say? Neji asked them. Hinata looked toward the ground. Say about what? What are they going to talk to us about? Naruto asked again. Hinata saw Neji give her a confused look. How could she not tell her husband why they were here? She again looked away. The baby, Hinata said in a low whisper. Her hand went protectively to her stomach. What about the baby? Naruto said suddenly darkly. She knew he must have grasped something about the situation but still didn't know anything for sure. Then again, anything having to do with Hinata's family always put him in a dark mood. The elders are afraid the blood limit may be in your child. Neji answered. Hinata is not a branch member, but there are certain things that go against their tradition. Like what? Naruto asked, still confused. Do they want to take the baby? He asked, already knowing the answer. Neji and Hinata looked at each other, then looked away. They do, don't they? Naruto said quietly. He looked at Hinata. She didn't meet his eyes, but the heat of their intensity burned through her. Why didn't she ever tell him this? He had every right to know. We don't know what they'll do. Neji answered for her. Normally taking the child is the act they choose, but considering Hinata is Hiyashi's firstborn, there are different things to consider. The doors opened and everyone was on edge. Another Hyuga messenger boy nodded toward them for them to follow. Hinata stood up with Naruto protectively at her side. She didn't look at him and he didn't look at her. She felt anger from him toward her she had never felt before. He was hurt and felt utterly betrayed by her. They followed the man into a large room. Hinata literally stopped breathing when all eyes were on her. All the elders sat before her. Hiyashi was in the middle. Hanabi was at the far end looking at her hands and locked eyes with her sister when she walked in. Neji went to meet Hanabi and judging by the looks sent between them, it was no coincidence as to why Neji went to see them. He was supposed to get something out of them, get their form of attack. He was supposed to get something out of them to use against them when the elders started talking. After all this time they still used Neji as a pawn. Hinata took a seat on one of the two pillows that lay before the entire elder council and her family. Naruto sat besides her, his fists clenched at his knees. Hinata wanted to make a grab for his hands, but she knew if she so much as even tried, Naruto would probably not react to her and the elders would only get even more upset at them. So she stayed still, silently praying she would walk out of here with her husband and her baby. Good afternoon, Hinata, one of the elders spoke curtly at her and she winced. She never liked the elders. Gee, good afternoon, elder. She bowed before her, showing her respect. Naruto, however, did not take any notes from her and sat glaring. Good afternoon, Uzumaki Naruto. The elder spoke with much more venom in her voice, but Naruto did not act on it. Whether it was for her, or for his own good, she didn't know. She was sure Naruto was still pretty mad at her though. I assume you both know why you are here. The elder said again. Hinata looked away. No, I don't know why we're here. Naruto spoke, clearly upset. All eyes fell on Hinata and she winced. Neglecting to tell your husband anything was not the Hyuga way. It was not the way she was raised to be. Hyuga women, no matter who they were or whom they were married to, had a duty to serve their husband before anyone else. You are here because of the child conceived between you and Hinata. The elder said. What about our child? Naruto asked, his calm beginning to break. Hinata is of the main house of the Hyugas. She is the firstborn daughter of our clan head Hyuga Hiyashi. I think we all know who she is, why don't you just get to the point? Naruto said, obviously angry and annoyed. Hinata would have gawked at her husband's obvious disrespect to her elders if she wasn't so scared to make eye contact with anyone. The child in Hinata's womb can be dangerous to our clan's secrets. Another older and male Hyuga spoke. The possibility of the child holding the bloodline can put our clan's secrets in danger. Do you think she's going to tell anyone? Naruto asked. The elders all looked daggers at the boy but continued. No, Hinata is a proud Hyuga, she will not betray our clan. However, if the child is born with the Byakugan, anyone can know who they will belong to. Not only that, but born as only half Hyuga, the child will be considered second class against the Hyuga name. Second class. Hinata knew all too well what that meant. Did Naruto know that too? Did he understand what they were getting at? What do you mean second class? Hinata was the rightful heir to your clan, wasn't she? Just because he will not be of pure Hyuga blood doesn't make him second class. Naruto was close to standing and Hinata was ready to reach for him to get him to sit down. While what he said was touching to her in every way, he did not understand the ways of the clan. She knew why they would consider her child below them. She did not think it was fair or even legal if she had her say, but she didn't. A woman conceiving a child with a non-member of the Hyuga was automatically seen as below the branch family. The child was many times not even allowed to live, and if it was reduced to servants in the household to both the branch and the main house. This was clan tradition, the way it had been for generations before her, and the way it would be generations after her. We have tradition in our clan Uzumaki. Traditions and ways to guard our secrets. The elder spoke to Naruto as though he was a child. Hinata knew this would only fuel his anger. The traditions to take a child away. Naruto burst out, his anger getting the better of him and taking over. Just because they are not full-blooded or inbred, you take them away to protect your secrets. What kind of fed-up tradition is that? Naruto. Hinata intervened now. He was crossing a big line, she had to stop him. I won't let you take them away. This is my child, screw your clan or its twisted ideas to protect itself. We won't be taking the child. Uzumaki, calm down. Hiyashi's voice was calm and quiet but somehow sounded louder than Naruto's yelling. You won't? Naruto asked quietly. No, we never said we would. But, before Naruto could continue, the elder who spoke before cleared his tea. Not only for the child's safety but for ours as well, we have come to the decision the child will be branded as a member of the branch house. Hinata's jaw dropped. Fear she had never known completely consumed her, and she all completely gawked at her father and the elders. They were going to brand her child. Those bastards were going to brand her innocent baby like they did to her own cousin. With no choice of its own or even consideration to it, they just made this decision. Fear for her unborn child turned into anger, and Hinata narrowed her eyes at the floor. No. Hinata spoke quietly but loud enough for everyone to hear. My child will not hold the mark of the branch family. Your child will not be of the branch family, Hinata, the elder man said. Your child will still be under our clan, however. And if they are not born with the blood limit? Hinata asked again, not making eye contact. If their eyes are blue and not white, are they still a threat? Hinata's voice was still quiet but her tone was clear. She wasn't a child they could control anymore. She was a mother with her own child to protect now, a child she would put before her very own life. Despite what eyes they have, Hinata, they are still half Hyuga and precautions must be taken to protect our clan. Another elder said. Hinata swallowed her fear and looked at them. They all looked so angry at her, so betrayed by her actions. But she didn't care about them, because the only person she cared who felt that way was sitting right next to her and refused to look at her. This child will not be of the clan. She said it so quietly she was sure no one even heard her, so she continued. I am not a Hyuga anymore. There was a chuckle around them and Hinata closed her eyes and gulped. She had to do this now, there was no time to think about it. She had to do this for both their sakes and the sake of the child. Hinata is right, Hiyashi broke between them. Since she married Uzumaki, she is not a Hyuga. Hinata stared unbelieving at her father. Did he just publicly denounce her? Hiyashi-sama, with all due respect, but Hinata was born of the Hyuga clan. She holds the blood limit. I am well aware of where or how Hinata was born, I was there myself. But Hinata is right, she married Uzumaki and took his name there for disregarding her own. In the eyes of the law, Hyuga Hinata does not exist, she is Uzumaki Hinata and therefore not of our clan. A silence fell around the room. Hinata stared at her father, Elder stared at her father along with her. Neji and Hanabi gawked at her father. Naruto stared between his wife and her father. If that is the head's decision, then there is another problem to discuss. Someone said, breaking the silence around them. If Hinata is indeed no longer associated with the clan, then all funds and or any other privileges associated with the clan must be revoked. Agreed. Hiyashi said before anyone had room to protest. Very well. Uzumaki Hinata. Hinata tore her eyes away from her father to the elder speaking. As of now, you are not longer seen as a member of the Hyuga clan. All privileges will be revoked and from this day forward you will not be considered a Hyuga ever again. Is this understood? Yes. Hinata said quietly, still trying to register what was happening. Very well, I believe we are finished here. Hiyashi moved to stand up, indicating this conversation was in fact over. Hinata followed him out with her eyes almost silently begging him to look at her, but he didn't. And soon he was out of the room and the elders were moving around to leave as well. That's it? Naruto asked, confused. Everyone ignored him and Hinata still looked at the door her father had just left. Hey, what about? Naruto started to stand but Hinata held him down. Let's just go home, she said, still not meeting his eyes. Naruto didn't say anything in response, he only nodded and helped her to her feet. Everyone left without saying a word. Neji and Hanabi looked at them but didn't dare to say anything to them. Hiyashi was long gone, the elders watched them go as if afraid they were about to do something and wanted to be on guard. On the way home they still said nothing. Hinata didn't make a grab for his hand like she did before when she heard and saw the people whisper. She didn't stop him when he began to walk in front of her rather than besides her. She didn't speak to him and he didn't speak to her. He must still be angry, or confused, and maybe even still hurted her. She couldn't blame him for that, and as much as she wanted to apologize and say why she didn't tell him, she couldn't because she couldn't think of anything to say to defend herself. Why did she not tell him as soon as possible about her conversation with Neji? She kept it to herself, she made it a point not to let him know. She could have told them before they were married, hell she could have even told him when she first found out she was pregnant months ago. She always knew her family's interference, she always knew it was just around the corner, but she never said anything. It was as if she wanted to deny it from happening. As if she really believed if she didn't think about, if she refused to believe it could happen, then it wouldn't. She would be safe from him, they would be safe from it. As much as she wanted it not to happen, it happened. And now her husband was furious at her for it. She knew Naruto enough to know he would never yell at her, he would never blame her for anything, and he would never deliberately make her feel bad. She knew that, so it hurt her even more to know that whatever frustrations he was feeling now directed completely at her, and for damn good reason. He would never act on them. He would never ask why she didn't tell him anything, he would never even bring it up once they got home. Naruto was like that, he didn't like brining up touchy subjects if they could be avoided, and right now in his head this subject was solved and therefore did not need to be spoken of anymore. I'm sorry, Hinata said the second Naruto had shut the door behind her. She didn't look him and he didn't look at her. He stood there with his hand on the doorknob and her behind him staring at her toes. For what? He asked casually, and her heart broke on the inside. She had no right to hide what she did from him. She had no right to never say anything to him on something that involved his child. For not telling you, I should have a long time ago when Neji told me, but I didn't. How long is a long time ago? When you were on your mission. She heard him sigh and saw his eyes darken, but it passed and he looked at her with soft eyes. I'm sure you had your reasons, but it's solved now, right? Yes, but don't worry, Hinata-chan. Our baby is safe, and so are you. Naruto, I promised Sasuke I'd meet him for some training today and I think I'm late. Will you be okay if I go? His voice was so soft and sweet Hinata wanted to do nothing but cry in his arms. Why she didn't really know, but the urge to cry was so overpowering. I'll be fine, she said, nodding and managing a small smile to match his soft tone. When will you be back? For dinner, he said with a smile and turned the doorknob to open the door. See you then. I'll have dinner waiting, she said, and saw one last smile before he shut the door. When she was sure he had turned the corner and walked down the stairs, Hinata let herself fall onto their bed and heave a heavy sob. He was so upset and so hurt. She knew it because she knew him, but he would never admit it. He wouldn't even let her explain herself, because he thought she didn't have to. So he would accept that and pretend to understand it when she didn't even understand it herself. She couldn't let him think this way. He had to really understand her. She had to talk to him. He wouldn't want to talk, he would politely and nicely shut her off, but she had to talk to him. They couldn't have a marriage like this, a marriage where they didn't talk or didn't even try. Wiping the tears from her eyes and fixing her hair, Hinata found a pair of pants that still fit, somehow changing out of her skirt. She knew where Sasuke and Naruto trained, she knew how to sneak up on them and wait until he was done. She would have to catch him when he was done, because otherwise he might slip out again or make a sweet comment to avoid her right now. Quickly she made her way out and to the training grounds. By the time she got there, she was surprised she didn't hear any clashing, banging or explosions from the ground, but decided to be careful just in case. Suppressing every inch of chakra she could, Hinata made her way quietly to the grounds. She knew neither men would be on high alert because they were in their own village, but one could never be too sure. She hopped up into the trees to get a better view of the men and to safely avoid any stray weapons or attacks. She could just wait here until Naruto was done and intercept him and demand he let her explain. She never told you. She heard Sasuke's smooth voice carry up to her spot in the trees. She looked down and to her surprise neither men were doing any training whatsoever, they stood next to each other completely relaxed. Nope, Naruto answered, his voice not nearly as soft and cheery as it was when he spoke to her. Did she say why? No. Did you ask? No. Naruto sighed. If she wanted to tell me she would have. She kept it from me since Neji told her about it when I was on that mission with you, Sai and Kakashi. Do you think she had a good reason to keep it from you? Sasuke asked evenly, but Hinata was sure she could feel the tension in his voice. I don't know, probably tried to protect me or something. At his words Hinata felt her heart lift. So he did understand. But why did he sound so upset and angry? Makes sense, Sasuke said, and they were quiet again. Quiet for a long time, and Hinata thought maybe they felt her and were just waiting for her to make her presence known. Kakashi and I are going on a mission and we need a third. Sasuke said suddenly. It's an S-class and Sakura is already assigned to one and Sai's doing something for Anbu. The question lingered in the air. S-class? Naruto asked, very much intrigued. Interested? Sasuke asked, and Naruto was quiet once again. I don't think I can just leave Hinata like that, he said suddenly, and she saw Sasuke visibly sigh. You can't put aside everything for her, you know. Sasuke said with tension in his voice. Then what am I supposed to do? Naruto asked, turning his head. She couldn't see his face, but she heard in his voice he was either confused or annoyed or both. I'm married to her, I'm her husband, doesn't that mean something? I mean, doesn't that mean I'm supposed to stay or something? A lot of husbands and fathers still go on missions, Sasuke said, his voice never changing. But then she'd be all alone, Naruto said, and though it sounded sweet and touching, Hinata heard strain in his voice. She has friends, Sakura will bend over backwards for her, and Kiba and Shino will do everything for her. You shouldn't put aside your own life just for her, Sasuke said. Hinata was hurt, confused, and angry. Why was Sasuke so obviously against her? What had she ever done to him? Why was he trying too hard to take Naruto away from her? Why did it sound like he hated her so much? Was marrying her really something you wanted to do? Sasuke asked, suddenly breaking Hinata's thoughts entirely. Naruto stood quiet for a long time. Hinata was sure she had stopped breathing. Why would Sasuke say something like that? Was it because he knew she was here? Did he ask her that for the sole purpose of her hearing it? Naruto sighed and looked up. It was the right thing to do, he said, looking down again. Hey, enough of this melodramatic stuff, I think I need to hit something, Naruto said suddenly. Sasuke scoffed. You can try, idiot. She left her spot on the trees before her small shock caused her to completely give herself away. She came out and rested against a large tree, still going over the conversation she just heard. Naruto's words echoed in her head like a broken record. It was the right thing to do. How could he say something like that now? How could he answer Sasuke like that? So many questions wrapped around her, but she couldn't find answers to any of them. Did Naruto really not want to marry her? Did he only do it because it was the right thing to do? The honorable thing to do? I can assure you he won't abandon you. Sakura's words echoed in her head. She told Hinata she didn't know what Naruto would do, but at the same time she knew he wouldn't leave her. Did she know what he was going to do but just didn't want to tell her? Did Sakura know Naruto didn't really want to be here? Did Naruto really want this? He said he did, he told her he did want it all. Did he lie to her? Hinata didn't remember when she left the training grounds. She didn't remember walking or running back to her house. She didn't remember getting inside or even closing the door behind her. She didn't remember falling to the ground in the middle of her floor and beginning to cry. But that's where she was, crying and sobbing hard into her hands in the middle of the floor in her and Naruto's apartment. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.